I couldn't believe it. I just wanted to scream and dance on top of a mountain in happiness. Jacob, the cutest and nicest boy in school and my longtime crush, was now single after 2 freaking years. This was finally my chance to be his girlfriend, and hopefully I'd be the last one. The competition might be tough, but I had the upper hand. We'd been seatmates in almost all of our classes, and I usually got a hi from him in the hallways. One day in the canteen, I saw him sitting at a table alone. I wondered why he wasn't with his friends. Holding my tray of food, I casually passed by his table, expecting him to notice me, but he didn't, and it made me sad. I stepped back and blurted out, "Oh, wow, pizza! Did you know that you can order it from space?" He turned towards me looking surprised. "Wow, really? That's so cool." He seemed impressed, and I felt relieved. My hands were shaking. I was so nervous, but I had to do this. "Can I sit here?" "Sure." As soon as I'd settled in my seat across from him, his face suddenly brightened up as he read a message on his phone. He looked so happy at whatever it said. "You can have all the pizza, Dana. I have to go." And he left, just like that. At least he'd given me his pizza. I'd just have to try harder next time. Over the next 2 weeks, I continued trying to get closer to him, and he was nicer to me, but he often seemed to be in a hurry. It disappointed me when I realized that he was giving other girls the same treatment. Ugh, I hate that feeling when you think you're special but you're not. This is not good. The next week was crucial. Something had changed about him. He looked so preoccupied whenever I saw him. He was always on his phone, smiling, and I didn't like what that might suggest. My gut feeling was confirmed when a piece of news left me speechless. Jacob had a new girlfriend already, and he'd posted their official couple photo on Instagram that day. It was Sam, a girl from another class. Why her? I mean, sure, she looked nice and delicate, and she always wore these modest, girly dresses, but what made her so much more special than me? I ranted and raved to my friends later that day. I really couldn't believe it. All my efforts had been a total waste. I tried to stalk Sam on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, and every other possible platform, but she didn't have any of them. She was clearly a very private person. I had to find out more about her. I had to know if she deserved Jacob. One night, while out buying some cleaning sponges, a familiar face caught my attention. It was her, Sam. She was wearing a huge black hoodie with the hood almost hiding her entire face. She looked so different. She had her hands deep in her pockets as she was talking to a tall and muscular older guy with tattoos who was also wearing the same black hoodie. They were talking about something seemingly very private in a corner of the store, neither of them holding a basket or anything to buy. They looked suspicious. I hid behind the toiletries rack as I secretly observed them. They then went outside and continued talking in front of the alley. They kept cautiously looking around as if they were hiding from someone. I sensed something fishy. What was Jacob's new girlfriend up to? And what was her relationship with this guy? A few more moments passed, and the older guy handed something to her. I didn't get the chance to see what it was because she immediately shoved it in her hoodie pocket. They then walked into the alley, and I immediately ran to follow them. I squatted behind a smelly garbage can as they checked if there was anyone around. I couldn't hear what they were talking about. They looked like they were planning something, but why in an alley? I suddenly screamed when a huge rat crawled out of the garbage and jumped onto me. I instinctively sprang up and flung it off. Sam and the guy turned their heads in my direction, and I buried my face in the garbage can as if I were a beggar looking for leftovers. I almost puked at the smell. I absolutely stank when I went home that night, and I had to shower 3 times just to get the smell off. You're going to pay for this, Sam. I wasn't able to sleep well that night. I kept thinking about Sam. I could sense that something was wrong with her. If Jacob didn't end up with me, at least he should find a decent girl that he deserved, you know? But it would be really good if it were me. I wanted to chat with him to tell him about what I'd seen earlier, but I was worried that he'd think I was stalking his girl because I was jealous. Of course I was, but I had to keep it low-key. Boys should chase the girl, not the other way around. The next morning, while I was on my way to my locker, I accidentally bumped into Sam. "Sorry," she apologized. She dropped her bag in the process, and some books slipped out. I squatted down next to her to help her and was stunned when I saw one of her books. It was a huge black book about witchcraft. I lifted my head and met her cautious eyes, but she looked away immediately and snatched the book away. With narrowed eyes, I watched her as she rushed towards Jacob at the end of the hallway and excitedly showed him something on her phone. I was itching to know more about this girl. I went to the same grocery store that night and expected to see Sam again, and I did. She was wearing the same black hoodie again, but this time she was talking to an old lady with a crooked nose and a hunched back. The old lady was also wearing a black hoodie. Was that their uniform or something? Sam whispered something to the woman, and the woman nodded back. They then went out of the store and continued talking in the alley. I took my phone out and started recording a video of them as I followed them. I was careful not to be noticed this time. It was a bit foggy in the middle of the alley where they were standing. The lady carefully handed something to Sam, and they continued walking and disappeared in the fog. I played the video back and paused to the part where the woman gave her something. I zoomed in and realized that it was a knife. Oh no, this Samantha girl was definitely bad news. I then heard a short crying sound somewhere in the fog. What was happening there? I left my hiding place and walked further to spy on them. I needed more evidence to show Jacob. I finally made it out of the fog, but they were nowhere to be found. All I saw were car tracks and a dirty white shirt on the ground. Wait a minute, was that red stain on the shirt? I checked and realized it was blood. Oh my god, Jacob had to know about this. His girlfriend was dangerous. The next day at school, I couldn't concentrate on any of my classes. I was itching to tell Jacob what had happened last night. As soon as class was over, I gathered up the courage to finally talk to him outside the classroom. Hi, Jacob. Can I talk to you for a second? Sure, Dana. He seemed to be in a hurry, but I didn't care. He deserved to know the truth. Listen, I trailed off when Samantha appeared from behind him all of a sudden. There you are. I was looking for you everywhere, she exclaimed as she hugged him from behind. She then turned to me and smiled. Hi, I think you're the one who I bumped into yesterday. Sorry if I left so suddenly. I was in a hurry. No problem. It's Sam, right? I pretended to be cool, but deep down I was fuming. How dare she act so nice and innocent when she was holding knives in alleys at night? Yeah, and you're Dana. Nice to meet you. Sam shook my hand while giving me an adorable smile. Who would ever think that this girl was involved in such seedy stuff? As the couple walked away, Jacob looked back at me and said, "Oh, hey Dana, I forgot to tell you something. Justin will be throwing a party later at his house at 7. It would be cool if you'd come." Wait a minute. Did he really invite me to his best friend's party later? I temporarily forgot about my problem with Sam in all my excitement. It was the first time that I'd be going to a party where Jacob was, and I could barely contain myself. When the party came, I had my eyes on the new couple for the first few hours, but I got temporarily distracted when his best friend Justin came up to me and asked me if I wanted another drink. I was flattered to be noticed by him, as he was so close to Jacob, but when I returned my eyes to the couple, I couldn't see them anymore. I looked for them everywhere, but they'd already disappeared, just like that. The night was still early. Where the hell did they go? I looked up at the night sky and saw how bright and full the moon was. And then I remembered the witchcraft book and the old lady with the crooked nose and white hair. Oh my god, was Jacob in danger? I had to save him. I continued looking and saw his car roaring out of the driveway. I immediately hopped into my car and followed them, hoping that they wouldn't notice me. We arrived in a seemingly abandoned neighborhood. Jacob and Samantha finally got out of the car after stopping near a huge old house. They walked side by side with Jacob's arm around Sam. They were even giggling. Weren't they afraid of such a weird place? After parking my car in a secluded spot, I continued following them. I hid behind the bushes, a tree, a huge rock, and whatever came my way whenever they looked back to check if someone was following them. They finally arrived at the front porch of the old house, and the door was opened by the same suspicious old lady from last night. I got scared as a cold breeze gave me chills. The woman really looked like a witch. I remembered the black book and blood-stained shirt. Were they going to do some sort of ritual on Jacob? Or would they sacrifice him? Oh no. To my bewilderment, Jacob seemed pleased to see the woman. He even hugged her. Don't tell me she was Sam's mother. They went into the house, leaving the door slightly open. I took a peek inside and was shocked to see how bright and lively it was inside, with many people of different ages milling around every corner of the house. I was still watching them, processing what could possibly be happening, when the door suddenly swung open, and I gasped to see Samantha looking at me with a knowing grin on her face. "We know that you've been following us," she revealed, which made me turn as red as a tomato. I bowed my head as I fiddled with my fingers. "It's okay, Dana. You can join us if you want." Jacob appeared in front of me, and what he said relieved me. "What is this place?" I asked. "This is one of my grandfather's old properties, and my father and I decided to make it a home for beggars and homeless people," Sam started to explain. "So, those nights in the alley?" I trailed off. I needed more answers. Sam explained further. Whenever I have time, I look for beggars and bring them here with the help of other people. There were a lot of them in the area, and some of them even had injuries from fighting for food. That's why you saw me there." She then introduced me to the old lady, who was her latest recruit. They also revealed that every other day, Jacob would go with Sam to help her and her mom while tending to these people's needs, such as food and clothing. I was speechless about what I had found out. I watched the new couple as they bonded with the beggars while they ate. They looked so happy with what they were doing, and as Jacob and Sam looked into each other's eyes, I felt the love and connection between them. This melted my heart way more than Jacob's smile. Samantha was actually an angel, and indeed, you can't judge a book by its cover. At that moment, I finally realized that she was perfect for Jacob, and I didn't feel jealous at all. I ended up being good friends with them from then on. I also helped them from time to time. About my feelings for Jacob, I didn't understand why, but I just woke up one day realizing that I had finally accepted that we weren't meant for each other. A year passed, and we were only a month away from graduation. While the three of us were having lunch at a fancy restaurant to celebrate the birthday of Sam's dog, Jacob's best friend, Justin, showed up late. He was panting as he sat next to me and across from the couple. "Sorry I'm late. I got stuck in traffic," Justin explained. Despite the messy black hair and sweaty forehead, Justin still managed to look cute. He had this bad boy thing going on, but that was only his looks because he was actually timid. He scratched the back of his head as he sat beside me. I noticed that he was always nervous whenever he was near me. Or was I just assuming things? "Come on, dude, ask her already," Jacob urged Justin as he leaned back in his chair looking impatient. Will you go to prom with me?" Justin stuttered as he asked me. I had been waiting for him to ask me out, and finally he'd done it. I nodded at him as I blushed, and the boys did a happy fist bump. After graduation, Justin became my boyfriend. And throughout the years, Jacob and Sam inspired me and made me more mindful of homeless people and those in need.